This just in! The Ukrainians get a big boost after Trump secures the bag. But will the Khazar dictator hold fast? Trouble in paradise is Volodymyr oversteps his bounds and gets slapped down by the executives. Will this lead to more Azov executions and crucifixions? Or will Putin denazify the steppe and send the Ruthenian ruffians packing? We'll have to wait and see, folks. Speaking of, seeing the first major coordinated push in a while from Ukraine in Toretsk. And there's been like 3 of these major offensives that have stalled and then reversed that I've seen so far. So it's not the first, but it's the first one I've seen in a while. And yeah, something happened. I think it has more to do with Europe than it does with the United States, as you have been following. I'll make the politics section quick. If you've been following, you know, Zelensky did not have a very good meeting with our president and vice president. Makes me feel a lot better. Makes basically everybody I know feel a lot better, because we're not fighting more for Ukrainians than we are for Americans. We're not fighting more for Israelis than we are for Americans. We're not continuing this Biden project. We all hate it. Basically all of us, like 90% or so of us hate it. I've suspected for a while that when the American empire, which has inflicted untold misery and suffering across the globe, contracts, we will be afflicted by the venom we've spawned. It has to go somewhere. Best to try and picture yourself holding fast as opposed to giving up in that sort of a situation. It's been a very the beatings will continue until morale improves type week, you feel me? That means we just gotta improve morale! And then the beatings will stop, right? Oh no? Well, there's no excuse not to improve morale anyways. Spring is here, but at what cost? So. Speaking of, Meatball Ron's actually starting to tighten up a bit. If he could just be a little bit less of a lame duck Zionist, then I'd be a lot happier, because I've got a very good scope on these things. I have watched my state turn into an absolute wasteland. It is horrifying. And the things that are not dissolving in front of my eyes are slowly dying. And it's in exchange for a culture that comes directly out of big cities, that comes directly out of places like Tel Aviv. So it's not just all big cities, it's specifically malignant big cities like Los Angeles, like Atlanta, like New York. And the money is being siphoned up to places like Long Island. It is not being reinvested in the area, it's just a tremendous amount of stupidity. And that stupidity is compounding, and that stupidity has, over the last 4 years, pushed out a tremendous amount of intelligent, capable, kind people that could have made our state very, very, and were making our state very, very great already. It's not their fault that the Sackler family induced the opioid crisis here. It's not their fault that Ron Johns was built on cocaine smuggling. It's where I got this manatee. This manatee was likely manufactured with cocaine money. You know what I'm saying? Ron Johns. Based on the fact that Hunter Biden's most recent baby mama is a Zionist, and Hunter got a Star of David tattoo on himself because of her, it's entirely possible that brain aneurysm Biden was just letting Israel act like an untrained pit bull in a daycare for the perceived sake of his grandkids. See? And just like Biden, DeSantis' legacy will be permanently tainted. The best that he can do is try and get back in the black. He's not going to be anything great because of his attachment to Israel. And it's just like, no matter how great Israel itself ever becomes in the future, the people that work for them will be extracted at a maximum. That's the game plan. It's not a joke. It's really funny. You can actually talk to rabbis about this, and they'll be like, yeah, actually, all the stereotypes about Jews being money greedy and hungry are completely and utterly true. It's funny. It's really funny. If you find an honest, Jewish person, they'll tell you the truth. But a Zionist prides dishonesty and deception over all things. That's That's something to know and to learn in order to not get completely taken advantage of. Like we're seeing a huge bubble in the crypto market pop right now, and a lot of people are getting hurt. It's very unfortunate, but as I've been saying, it's the concept that you're buying into when you buy into crypto with the instead of investing in the crypto to hold its wealth, which is also unwise, which was the original like hope and duty of the blockchain as created in the original Bitcoin programming and idealization. You're you're trying to make money off of money. You're not trying to make money off of work. You're trying to not trying to make money off of a particular company. You're not trying to make money off of your country getting better. It is a cloud-based international currency that you're trying to make money off of. Please understand that things like silver are much, much better to put your money into, because with silver, you can use it, combine it with platinum to create air purifiers for space, combine it with, you literally can just use just straight up silver as a disinfectant. Not just in colloidal silver, which is a very interesting, physical disinfectant that is actually quite good for dealing with anything like rashes or anything like that. It's not good to drink. You'll turn blue and die. But silver itself used to be dropped into barrels of milk, and that would preserve them during long travels in hot environments. It would literally preserve them. And you can use silver in more complex filtration systems, even though water filtration isn't actually all that hard. The Romans knew about it. They just recreate what's basically in between a spring and an aquifer in order to recreate a nature-inspired water filter. And those water filters that Alex Jones were selling were very laughably poor and required a lot of work to filter a very little amount of water, and then the filters would clog very quickly. It was very predatory. Not a fan of predatory business. And if you, like with Jeff Bezos, if you're gonna be predatory, at least like invest back into productivity, because he's the number one productivity guy on the entire planet, is Jeff Bezos. As an individual, he's the number one productivity guy on the entire planet, from the looks of it by far. Like when you look at Facebook and Meta, what do they actually provide? Not a tremendous amount. When you look at X and SpaceX and Tesla, they provide a little bit, but their value, as anybody who is a market expert will tell you, their value is massively, massively inflated, and they'll trace it back to the years and the government programs that allowed them to be inflated. I myself, growing up in this area, have watched people be forced to move, intelligent, good people, be forced to move over to Washington, be forced to move over to Texas, be forced to move over to Colorado. I've watched the money and the intelligence in my county, in my area, especially on the Space Coast, just drain out as soon as Obama, way back when, secured contracts for SpaceX that were going to go to NASA. It's another classic thanks Obama moment. Like, and I'm glad a lot of people are kind of coming around to the fact that Obama was not the mirage that he presented himself at. He was part of a new money, nouvelle riche mirage that is a hologram. So keep that in mind. Like people like Warren Buffett, they own like a bunch of trains. They're very heavily invested in the economy itself. In fact, I looked up his past, and where Warren Buffett got all of his money was he invested very, very heavily at a very, very young age. He was a very, very like aggressive, coming in and early and sweeping the floors young man. And then when he became a businessman, he he bought up and created a whole bunch of textile manufacturing for people's homes and for people's products. It's very useful. You can't necessarily say the same for somebody like Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg, which I still really, really want to see the two of those guys fight. In that case, the winner becomes the alpha tech bro. I mean, I swear to you, like if you didn't already know this, Musk and Zuckerberg were going to fight, but Musk backed out of it because Zuckerberg is really good at jujitsu and he surfs a bunch and he's very fit. So, not necessarily like similar weight classes, not necessarily an even fight. So I kind of get that. Here's some financial advice to take to the bank. You should never be exclusively concerned with profit multipliers. You see. X3, X5, X10. You never be concerned exclusively with that. First off, if you're getting consistent money multipliers, the business that you're participating in is inflationary and unreal. And it's unrealistic. It's a cloud. It's floating. It's not realistic where it's egalitarian. It's a flat arc upwards instead of realistic, which is peaks and valleys. And if the way you do business detracts from your reputation or detracts from the people who work for you and trust you, then it will be weighed against your overall net gains in the long run, you see. This is a big problem with international finance, is that it's kind of hard to track these people sometimes when they do such things. But nowadays, it's easier than ever to track these people, so I guarantee you do not want to start your business thinking that you can just exploit your way to the top. People who do that kick the ladder out from under them. Consistently. If everybody could do it, then they would be just another, middle-class average person, right? So, you know what really took down communism? Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut took down communism. Literal government cheese. It wasn't violence and bloodshed. It was people coming together to have a big pizza. Playing off yesterday's points on long-distance space travel, I forgot to mention things like cryostasis. I forgot to mention things like freezing or suspending yourself in goo to stop metabolism for long-distance space travel. It's another theory that science fiction has cooked up. However, freezing in the traditional way is right out. Ice pierces through cells on a microscopic level. Goo is closer, but what they really need is bog travel. Suspending people in a bog like bog butter or a baby mammoth. You need bog travel. You need to have a ship and then the bog room, and then you just walk down into the bog whenever you need to travel long distances. That's what they need. A lot of fictional works have utilized this, such as Trigun. They had freezing. Outer Worlds had freezing. Dragon Ball had the goo tank. Walt Disney froze head. There's lots of little ins and outs there. Oh, and I'll make a redaction of my previous statement. Emo music is peak. Goth writing is peak. But for an aesthetic, scene takes the cake, right? Because it's the actual fun one, instead of the bringing down the life of the anti-life of the party, bringing down the vibe, sort of emo and goth aesthetic. However, all of them have their place, right? And I personally don't like a lot of the Michael Aquino style deist Satanists. See, there's atheist Satanists, which is just like edgelord, death metal sort of, black metal sort of stuff. And then there's, which sometimes can get into Wicca at times with the black metal and the European Nordic metal and stuff like that. And then there's the deist Satanists. Now, I've talked about this guy before, but it's very, very imperative to research him and at least take a look at his crazy eyebrows. Michael Aquino. Michael Aquino was a member of the military, was a member of the CIA, and or the FBI, I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was the CIA. And he's described as the father of psychological warfare in the United States. He invented the term psyop, and I always found this very interesting because a lot of people who do not have your best interest at heart are injecting the term psyop into the vocabulary, like 5G psyop. Oh, the psyops will be helped by your tinfoil hat and stuff like that, you know. You just got to be careful. I used some very bad examples just now, but you just got to be careful when people are saying the word psyops. Like, everything is kind of a psyop in the advertising injected world, but that doesn't mean that actual psyops, like the Israeli military girls dancing around and trying and recruit people from all over the world into their service equals citizenship style route, where they'll just send people out to die. That's kind of a psyop. And the fact that there is a military base where there's like 7,000 people, but there's like 400,000 Reddit accounts registered to that particular base, that's also a psyop, especially because the base is the center of psychological operations and warfare. Just a little bit of history for you. All right, y'all. I got stuff to do. This is a good little episode. Hope y'all take care. Cheers.